We are live.
Evening blessings and salutations. Welcome.
Good night, all.
Good night,
Good
everyone.
night. Good evening, everybody.
And we'll give it a couple. We'll give it a couple, maybe a minute or so. But I just want to officially thank all of you all for joining us tonight. Um, I know these conversations are sometimes hard to have, and in our community, we don't really like to have these conversations. We kind of glaze over it, but we don't understand by having these conversations. Um, this is the only way we can change the bad and perfect the good. So I want to thank you all for joining us tonight. Lucian, you want to go ahead first since you said you had something?
I'd like to send my condolences out to the Allen family. Kwame was a really good friend, and I'm sorry to hear about his passing. And I wish all people in the sound of my voice who knew him, um, you know, can reach out to the family and give them some kind of condolences or something. 'Cause it's
Amen.
really
Condolences.
tough time for everyone.
Yeah, this is a tough time for us all. Seriously. Like I was just saying to all of you all, if everything that we haven't been going through in the last year and a half, almost 2 years, hasn't taught us anything, it is to cherish our loved ones, to live on purpose, and to truly enjoy life. Dr. Williams asked me today, and Jerome, how happy on a scale of 1 to 10 are you? I said 9.5 only because I really wish I was going to Dubai in the next week because I was supposed to be going to Dubai. I was supposed to go last year and it got pushed out to this year. And then I just decided I wasn't feeling comfortable being on a 12-hour flight. But otherwise, I would have been a 10. So again, if it hasn't taught people anything or it's not continuing to teach people anything, I think that's a sad plight. But I definitely want to thank all of you all for joining us tonight to discuss the impact fathers have on sons. You know, today I made a post about what the topic was going to be about, and instantaneously there were comments about and women, the effect it has on women, and we will discuss that. But you hear so many women complaining about men, and I don't think that if you have a complaint about a man, who was his role model, who was his example, um, for him to be a better man, you know? So I think that that's the conversation that we really need to have. So I want to thank everybody who is on. We'll have one other person joining us. For everybody who's watching, Pinky is in the background. She's just not on the show with us tonight, but she'll be commenting.
I got a question for you before you move forward.
Uh-huh.
How does it feel to be in a meeting with a bunch of real men by yourself?
You know what? It actually feels pretty comfortable. I have to admit that I have never been a woman to hang out with a lot of women. I just felt
Yeah.
like growing up, I was a tomboy, and I felt like
So you're at home. You're at home right now.
I'm at home. Women to me
Oh, your
sometimes
bad
are
self.
petty, and I just think I learned a lot from the males in my life. So for
Yeah.
me, I'm at home.
Cool.
Yeah.
Let's make it happen, girl. Go ahead.
Excellent. So tonight we have Jerome with us. We have Malik. We have the two Dr. Williams.
One more joining you in a minute.
And another one will be joining us. We have, of course, Mr. Lucien and Mr. Llanos. So thank you all. For anybody joining us on YouTube, tonight the discussion is on what impact has having your father in your life or not in your life had on you, as a man who you've shown up in the world, in your careers, in your relationships, and for those who have children or who have mentored children, how you've shown up for them as well. So whoever wants to start first. Normally we like go around, but somebody want to take the lead? No? Okay. I'm going to pick Mr. Llanos.
Of course. Why not? What was the question?
Really?
I was paying attention to something over here. I really was paying attention to something over here that's going on my side. But I know the show. I know what the show's about. You know, about relationships growing up, of course, with your dad and what have you. I've always, and I've said this before. You know, I was fortunate enough to have a very good relationship with my dad. I presently still have a good relationship with my dad. He's 81 years
Blessing.
of age. Thank God to that. He's been through a lot. You know, he's definitely been a hell of a role model. I've had several men, and again, I've talked about my grandfathers, my grandparents, some uncles as well, and that have steered me to where I'm at. But my father was that everyday individual, that man, that man of the house role model that I had. Like I said, he's, you know, during his years, he's went through he's had 5 heart attacks. So I mean, he's still here. You know, I mean, and I know it's kind of a weird thing. I don't know. I don't want to say following his footsteps, but I had one. So I don't know if that's something, but you know, it's just weird. Like I said, he's really, you know, he's been that solid foundation for us. I've learned a lot through the arts. I've picked up photography from him. He was a musician as well. Dad is a wordsmith. I mean, he's very good. You know, he's articulate, he's intelligent. You know, of course, I've had my standard bus ass during the years. We've talked about. I've got my ass cut a couple of times, and probably, you know, needed it on many occasions. And so, you know, no, for real. So it was good. You know, he definitely, you know, not just for me, but for my brother as well. He instilled some things that I actually pass on to my sons as well. You know, it's just an all around, I guess you could say, an all around excellent person. It's not all cookies and cream, because trust and believe you have your trials and tribulations. But do know that the love is always there. I mean, I speak to both my parents every day. I tell them both every day that I still love. I tell them we end the conversation with "I love you," and that's something that we do. I do that with my kids also. So, but yeah, you know, just like in any good situation, you'll always have bad. There's nothing perfect. So yeah, there've been many rough times. But all in all, it's, you know, can't complain at all.
Excellent. Thank you. How about you, Dr. Williams and Dr. Sheldon?
I'll give it to my son so he can speak. That's what I've been doing.
My entire life.
Yeah.
In front of the pops.
I'm a senior citizen. I'm retired now, so I'll give way to my son, my oldest son, so he can speak. I'll say something after he speaks.
Okay.
Because once upon a time, he used to think I was a tyrant. He can mention that tonight if he wishes. Go ahead, son.
Can you repeat the question one more time? I'll make sure I get everything.
I mean, again, you can touch on whatever really you feel like you want to touch on. But what do you think the effect of having your father present? Because one of the things that I say all the time is that there's fathers that have been in the homes with children. There's fathers who have not. And there's fathers who have been in the home and still not been present in their sons' lives.
Right.
So what do you think effect that has had on you as a man who you've shown up in the world, in your career, in your relationship, and in how you parent?
Excellent question. Well, as you can see, this guy is still very close to me, like literally about a foot away. So to say that he's had a tremendous role in my life and significant role in my life is an understatement. Apart from the obvious genetic, literally looking just like this man, much of who I patterned my life after was based upon him. He was a very present father. I can't lie about that. Always been very much humanitarian, always been very much for the people. Sometimes to a detriment. So it's not all, like you said, not all peaches and cream. There was a point in time where his obligations were so much that it adversely affected our relationship. The beautiful thing is that he wasn't beyond correction. He wasn't beyond adjustment. So I think it was the age of 12 when I let him know, like, we don't see you as much. He cut most of his obligations in half, and then he spent more time with us. So very present father. He was very exemplary in teaching me what it meant to be a man. I feel like as a firstborn, what he felt his duty was to prepare me for life. He knew that as a man, as a young black man, there would be significant pitfalls along the way. There'd be significant challenges. So I believe it was his endeavor to prepare me as best as he possibly could to not just survive, but to navigate through life. And I think he did a fantastic job in that. So much so that, I mean, I'm a chiropractor, just like him. The way that I parent is very similar to him, but I've learned some adjustments along the way. He was very militant. I'm not gonna lie. He's very strict. He's very by the book. He says that, and this is a preemptive statement because he knows it's true. He says that I would say but he was a tyrant. I mean, the standard for excellence was beyond measure. Like if I swept the floor and there was a piece of lint on the ground, he would have you sweep the floor again, just to make sure.
The whole floor.
Yes, I mean,
The
so
whole floor.
I couldn't stand him. I'm not gonna lie, I couldn't stand him as a young man, but as a grown man,
We'll spread the dog all over again.
he had outrageous standards. But as a grown man, I appreciate him because I realize now what he was doing, showing me what standards were, showing me what excellence was, showing me that there was no excuse ever if you wanted to accomplish something that you could. So it has impacted me as a father. I'm a father of 3 now. I have a 9-year-old, an 8-year-old, and a 5-year-old. The 9-year-old is the oldest, my son. So I lend certain things from him, and especially as it pertains to like being a nurturer, because many times, especially as black fathers, we don't always hug. We don't always tell our sons that we love each other. So I definitely lent that from him. One thing that I do differently, though, is that I don't like to consider myself a tyrant. Hoping my son will agree. But I take a softer approach. I think for one, I communicate with him directly, and seeing as though he set the foundation for me by teaching me how to survive, I feel like I owe him and I owe my son to not just teach him how to survive, but how to thrive in this world. So he's not trying to adapt to the world, but he's able to create the world as he sees fit for not just himself, but his posterity as well, too. So he's had tremendous impact in my life. I'm glad that I'm back here with him. He's helped me through endless things. And what's beautiful, too, is that our lives mirror one another. So a lot of the things that I experience now, he's already been through. So I can talk to him, be like, Dad, this is such and such and such. And then even from his experience, so from the things that he's done right, from the things he's done wrong, he can lend to that, which adds to my experience so that his grandchildren, my children, have a better existence. And I get to navigate this thing called fatherhood that much easier.
Excellent. And how has it affected your relationship?
Which like marital?
Yeah, marital.
Oh, my wife, she eats it up. So my dad's a great husband. So much so that like he sets the bar a little too high. So I've often told my wife about the things that my father would do, and it's like, man, this guy was really like. But I mean, it's really good because he sets a standard. So for instance, for Mother's Day, we would commonly get mom flowers, right? That's his wife, my mom. And one Mother's Day, I think I was like 10. My brother was like 4. He's right here now. He's like, you know what? We should do something different. Let's not just get mom flowers. Let's plant some roses. So he planted roses, and then from there, every single day now, he's able to give his wife, my mom, a rose every single day. So he's always thinking about his wife, which makes me, in the same way, think about my wife the same way that he thinks about my mom. So I think just by leading by example, as a man, as a husband, as a father, I've emulated many of the things that he does, which helps me in my relationship because I can just go back to the senior doc playbook. And it just enriches your life as well, too. So again, you take the stuff that you want, you leave the stuff that you don't, and then you just continue to live and experience along the way.
Excellent. Excellent. It's good to hear these good stories because I think we hear too many bad stories. So
no, we got good stuff.
Yeah, this story is Debbie. He didn't tell you guys that.
I didn't tell you the half of it.
I used to make him watch.
I'm trying to keep him looking.
Make those boys watch their lunch kits. 2:00 in the morning, right?
No, correction. He did not make those boys. I'm the older boy, so I was responsible for everything. If it was a friend, it was a neighbor, it was an old person, they left something in the sink after I fell asleep, he'd wake me up 2 a.m. to make sure that I did it because it was my responsibility to make sure it was done. Go ahead with the story.
That's a military man. Nice.
No, we don't take up a whole bunch of your time. We got tons of stories we can tell you, man. Good and bad. But this is the other doctor, Dr. J. Will say hi to the
Hey, everybody.
Good night.
Good night.
Big
Good night.
Will. Good night. Good night.
Some familiar faces.
Who you know this? Who you know here? Tell me.
Los. King
What's going on,
Los.
brother?
What's good, bro? How you doing?
That's Big Will.
Well, Louis,
I know. Luciana also. What's good?
well, she's a vet. You don't even know me. You know these people.
Well, thank you for joining us tonight. We
Let me ask him the
appreciate
same
you.
question, man. See how I can respond.
Okay, so the question that I'm posing to everyone is, what impact has having your father in your life had on you as a man, in your career, in your romantic relationship, and as a father?
Okay.
It's a lot.
Well, it's a lot to separate. But I'll try to be concise.
Go for it.
I know you mentioned man, career, relationship, and as a father.
Mhm.
So as a man, I know that Pops was military. So, so did you already
You're
say this?
reliance on
So,
Wait, you didn't hear anything that Sheldon said a while ago, right?
I just
okay.
walked his military.
Yeah, he
Well,
touched
Pops is
on that.
military, so everything when it comes to punctuality, timeliness, cleanliness, all the above, all those things that you'd find in a military man or serviceman or woman. Those are some of the values definitely instilled on us. So, if you go into an event, something as minuscule as making up your bed in the morning, whatever it may be, like it's all about being on time, being succinct with it, just doing everything the way it's supposed to be done and do it right the first time, right?
And I'm sure at that age, when you were younger, you were kind of resistant. You didn't like it.
Nah, nobody wants to hear that as a kid. Nobody's trying to hear that. But you appreciate it now, of course.
Right.
I'll try to keep it short. He said, as a professional, I mean, of course, my brother and I are both chiropractors, so he kind of paved the way for us to be in this profession. I told my brother and I told my dad this before, but I feel like I worked from the ground up, because when I was up until I think like high school, I didn't really shadow my dad a lot in the office. I mean, I came in every once in a while when I get injured playing soccer, playing basketball, whatever it may be. But I didn't really shadow him. So what I did was I did a lot of filing, right? So they have me doing grunt work in the office. Hours and hours of filing, and that's it. Like I sit on a little step stool and I file for hours at a time. I went to school and I got injured. I had my brother treat me when I was injured because my brother was in chiropractic school when I was in undergrad in the same city in St. Louis. And I kind of got into it a little bit more through that. But, having this office here home was definitely very helpful. And having these two gentlemen to help, just with me as a practitioner, just kind of help guide me through things that you may not necessarily pick up in school was also, supremely helpful. Right. A lot of people don't necessarily get that. And a lot of people don't necessarily make it as practitioners, especially in private practice, because they may not have that direction. But, I was lucky enough to have not just one, but two doctors help guide me along that way. So that was very, very helpful. Relationship. Yeah. Just being attentive, paying attention and, making sure that, it's, everybody's an equal in the house, right? Everybody's doing work. Everybody's washing dishes. Everybody's cooking. Everybody's doing everything, right? It's the same thing Dad did back, when we were coming up, and it's the same thing that we do in the house right now. And I'm sure, I know my wife appreciates it. I'm sure Michelle's wife appreciates it also. But yeah, all those things. It's just like I say, you just lead by example of the stuff that we saw coming up, so we didn't really know anything different, right?
Your brother said your father set the bar high for relationships, though.
Yeah, I guess so.
Romanticness.
Mr. Bombastic Romantic.
I got two clowns here.
But yeah,
in terms of years of Dad.
Say that again.
In terms of
Oh, as a dad, as a father.
Mhm.
I think I'll give a few examples of things that I picked up from my pops, and I have a 2-year-old son right now. His name's Ezra, and the stuff that I kind of carry on to Ezra. But one of the things is, obviously a healthy love for activity and sport. So we're outside all the time. As much as we watch TV and read books and stuff like that, we're outside and we're playing right now. Right now, I play 3 or 4 different sports just throughout the week, just to keep active, between working out in the gym and doing soccer and volleyball and tennis, just whatever it may be, just trying to keep active. And then, watching my dad run. I know he played, soccer as a youth, football as a youth with all his family and everything. Bye. So watching him do all those things and be active, and having him, him and mom take us to the Olympics as kids, and man, that was huge. Just being able to see world-class athletes walk around with these world-class athletes as a kid, man, is amazing to see. Anything that we were interested in, whether it's, like I said, soccer or fencing or basketball or whatever it may be, we went to those games at the Olympic Games, so we got a chance to be, just fall in love with sport and fall in love with activity, and just it aligns well with our practice also, right? Practice what you preach and preach what you practice. So just with activity and sport, that was definitely something that, he instilled in us. Number 2, constantly learning and constantly questioning things. So he would, he'd always ask us not just about our day, about what we learned, but, dive deeper, not just the more superficial things, but keeping track of, not just what we learn, but how we learn it and how we learn things, right? So anybody can pick up a book and read anything and just interpret it their own way, but to have that view challenged regularly, have your viewpoint challenged regularly is something completely different. And he definitely did that as kids, right? Even if he's just playing devil's advocate, that's what everything.
Every single day.
So like very Socratic methods. So you might see us on Facebook. I'll question everything. I might not even say a view. You might think I might have a certain view on something. I might just be playing devil's advocate half the time, just to be, just to play that role. But you might see that in my interactions. Carlos, you've seen me, coach. You've seen it. Another thing that like I said, I definitely have my son doing the same thing. So we have our son on a skateboard. He's 2. I have him on the trampoline. I have him kicking around a soccer ball. I have him playing tennis. Just whatever he wants to do, whatever he picks up, we just
riding the bike.
He's riding a bike, busting up his toes, riding a trike. Man, this kid, we turned our back for like 2 seconds, right? And this guy, he doesn't know how to steer a bike.
Oh,
Not only does he not know how to steer, but the bike also doesn't. It's like a training bike. It doesn't have any brakes on it, and so he finds a hill, like the one hill. And he just flies down this hill, busting up his toes a little bit. He's all right. He's okay. His mom caught him right away, though. So, I mean, we're cool. But anyway, he's after we had the Band-Aids and everything, the Band-Aids came off, he was right back on that trike. So I know he'll be all right. Yeah, so we have my son doing all that stuff. And lastly, one of the things that I do with my son just about every night, anytime I put him to sleep at least, which is I think probably every other night because his mom puts him to sleep on the nights that I have to work the next day, and I do the same for the days that she works. But the positive affirmations, man, we sit in front of the mirror, and my dad would always do this when we were younger. But you're a young prince, African prince, you're a king, you're greatness, you're a genius, you're intelligent, all this stuff, and I definitely do that with my son all the time. So I'll do that with him. And I'll have him in the mirror. I'll have him high five himself, and I'll have him daps himself, and then he kisses himself in the mirror, and then he hugs himself, and then we high five, and then we hug, and then we put him to bed. So all those different things that that my dad had us doing when we were kids, we definitely do with our son, just to boost up his self-esteem, his sense of self-worth in a world that may not be the most friendly for someone who looks like him.
Amen. Excellent. And I think one of the things too that Dr. Williams, the grandkids now not only get to have you guys as their parent, but then they also get to have Papa, who is instrumental because I see all the pictures.
Absolutely.
Totally different person. I'm very happy for them.
Sure.
Very happy for them.
Soft like SpongeBob.
Oh, God. Well, Dr. Williams, give me 1 minute. I'm gonna go to someone else, and then we're gonna come back to you. So, Mr. Lucien, let's hear from you.
My childhood was interesting. My father was one of those that he was there, but he wasn't there. You know what I'm saying? So it was more like I gained some stuff from him, and then other stuff is just, pretty much you learn on your own.
Right.
I think the most Caribbean men is like, which is like I think now is something that's like completely wrong. It's to just to suck it up. You know what I'm saying? Be a man and don't do this and don't do that and don't let people see you cry and showing emotions and stuff like that. And that's tough, especially when you're trying to develop like relationship skills
Right.
and learning how to deal with people. So, I mean, I wouldn't say that my relationships were the best at first because, I still had to go through that macho chauvinistic behavior. And then like as I guess went through breakups, you learn different things of what not to do, what not to say, and how to deal with people, and understanding that your partner is your partner. That's what your partner is there for. Not somebody who is like submissive of you, but somebody who is working with you to become a whole. So I think that I've learned more through like experience than being taught by my father. But I did have some pretty good mentors though. Like occasionally Doc would come into my inbox and be like, you went a little bit too far and not posting on my going. So or would pick up the phone and be like, really? You know what I'm saying? So I've had some good mentors, man, and really like, in our neighborhood we had like I think we had like big man, it's kind of like a big man crew, and so you check. So with dudes who are older than us that we could like, talk to sometimes, and then usually you usually outgrow them because some of them don't really, take off. But I think my life has been a very interesting patchwork of people who have been surrounded with.
The village.
Now, my father he's become more like in tune with my life. He's apologized for a lot of stuff, especially not really being there, and has also, really encompassed himself in my brother's life. My brother just moved back home, so that's a good thing. You know what I'm saying? It's better late than never.
Right.
But at least we had that. We had the father figure there.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And I think even that is important. Because some people like my friends would come at my house and they'd be like, "Wow, that's cool, your father here," and not thinking like, "Where your father is?" You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But it was, and growing up in a Trini household was, it was like, this is how it is. You know what I'm saying? Or you know what comes next, so so it was and then too when I used to go down to Trinidad and different, and Barbados and stuff and view my uncles and so I always had like father figures around. So once again it's like a patchwork of just, putting everything together that's good and leaving the bad behind.
Excellent. And you're appreciative of that, I'm sure.
Yeah.
That's good. That's good. How about you, Jerome?
Good evening, everyone I didn't get to meet. Nice to meet y'all, first off.
Jerome, for anybody who's looking, Jerome is coming to us from St. Martin. Go ahead.
Yes, I'm also have some little spots. I've been in St. Croix, Williams Delight Grove as well. All right, first question I'm going to answer what my dad has really meant for me in the sense of growing up as a young man. separate from business wise. When I was younger, my dad wasn't really with me that much. When I was younger, I was kind of more the rude one, the disgusting one on the road, causing trouble, coming home, hitting licks and stuff like that. But for me, really and truly, that more showed me now today. That was basically he was setting me up in structuring me in a sense that, hey, this is right, this was wrong. But he never said it directly, basically. So my relationship with my dad wasn't like how the young doctors has it, which that's very, very outspoken, is really good to have it like that. That's very special. That's not everyone actually has that. And hearing you guys talk about that, it's something I can't say I wish things to me differently, but it's something special. So I give you guys respect for having that and experiencing that. But on the sense for me now, my dad was all about work, structure. He was with the government, working with the government for more than 35 years. And he's basically a person that every situation he used to deal with it like the game chess. He would plan things and do things in a way to structure the outcome of it to make sure that it works out the best way. But he was also there in a father figure. Like if I needed to get something done or my mom needed to get certain things organized, he was always there, but in the background, but you won't see him doing certain things how it's supposed to. So I would say he was there as a father. I would say he was doing the best that he can. He was very open and straightforward about what was allowed and what was not allowed. So his strictness was above a very high level, but there was not much explanation. So what I took from that when I was growing up is at the end of the day, it's about the choices you make and not specifically in the present time, but what it's going to cost you in your future. That's what I most took from it. At this present moment in time, looking at all the things that he did and how he did it, remember I was saying he does everything like it's a chess game. So he positioned things so that I didn't see it then, but I'm seeing it now. So when it comes to fatherhood, all the things that I probably think was not working out for me then or I didn't understand, I'm using that right now with my kids. I'm showing them the understanding of respect, loyalty, honesty. Even though you don't want something to go a particular way, like it's bad, you still have to express yourself and tell your parents or your surroundings so you can know, hey, this is the people that's looking out for me. I'm supposed to come forward, even though if I'm known to get licked or a cut back side or whichever one you want to phrase it as, I'm still supposed to tell my dad what's supposed to be going on, which I get that from my kids now as well, which I'm very thankful for that. They don't hide anything from me. And also, that's one key point I got from my dad. Another key point I got from him when it consists of like money or anything like that. Money comes and money goes. If you see someone that asks you for something, you don't necessarily need to tell them, hey, a lie or anything. Just tell them, hey, I have $5 in my pocket, but I got to do something with it. I'm not going to tell you no and then pity you off like I'm better than you in any sense like that. So I'm just going to tell you what it is. So that's like the honesty part that I show to my kids. And he always was very straightforward about knowing what you want. Not that you're going to say something like now and then give up on it later on because someone said something that discourages you. You're supposed to know, just like how he plays chess, you're supposed to know the outcome already that you want and just keep on going for it. Strive for it. Don't leave anyone break you down or stumble, because at the end of the world that we live in now, there's probably like 90% people that's looking to break you down instead of build you up, So he taught me a lot about that. So I'm teaching my kids that as well too. In the sense of business wise, the structure that he showed me, never talk your business, because at the end of the day, it will never work out for you, because if you boast too much about something, it immediately, hey RJ,
Hey,
it
good night.
immediately, good night. It immediately now allows people to put things in jeopardy, what's you want the outcome to turn. So always keep your business close to yourself. And I took that to the heart. So anything about my business and stuff like that, I'm very secretive. I'm very quiet. I keep it to myself. Not like if I'm in a relationship, I won't give my spouse or tell my spouse what's going on. It's not that. It's just basically, I need to know what's happening first before putting it out there, and then I get a certain backlash from it in a sense like that. I keep it to myself. So about that, you can say he guided me around the way about that. But all of this, what I'm explaining to you guys, there's one key thing to it. I was not, as I said, I wasn't close to my dad like this. My dad passed away in 2019. I took care of my dad for about 5 to 6 years before he passed over to cancer. In that time, in that when my dad fell sick, I had to put my companies on dormant. So I was not working. I wasn't doing anything. I was just taking care of my dad. And the things that he didn't taught me or show me about, I learned the hard way. So like how Lucian was just saying just now, you actually have to pick up on the stuff that you didn't learn from them. You actually picked it up whilst you're growing up and you're getting to learn these things. I picked up family orientations that in a sense of how to love my family, what I want from my family, what my family need. The more connection I got with my dad, I end up making him, he became my best friend. So with that whole thing going on at that time, it's like, hey, you know what? What I learned in the past is one thing, but this here now is something that I can actually utilize with my kids and show them the love and the stuff that I didn't really get back then that made me do the other stuff on the, like being around certain people on the road or on the street, doing certain things. It now showed me that that was not the important part. The important part was the structure of the family. And by spending that time with him, it made me realize a lot of that. So on that level, I can say my dad showed me what he can as a man and as a father, certain structures, and he kind of positioned me in a way that I'm the person that I am today. So it's a plus point. It's an advantage to me that I understand because now I have what he showed me, what I learned from it, and what I'm experiencing right now. So with all of that, now I can actually say I can be a better father. I can be a better teacher. I do big brother classes as well. So with all those things, I'm using that and turning the momentum of what actually created from my past to my present, and I'm taking it to the future in that sense to try and make other young guys or young kids realize certain things that they are not the only one. They don't have to depend on the pain. They don't have to depend on the frustration or anything that's harmful for them to build. So I'm basically taking what I've felt from back then to the present now, that what my dad showed me, and trying to push forward basically. So he showed me a lot, and he was a very big inspiration in my life, because even when he passed away, there's not much people used to talk about my dad. But now when they see me, they say, hey, you look just like your dad, and your dad was a great guy. He did this for me. He helped this. And we're talking about more than 50 to 60 people. But just having one person tell me that makes my day every day. So I'm very thankful for having my dad around. And relationship-wise, ooh, Deborah. Relationship-wise, my dad did, my sister's gonna kill me for this.
Okay, all you have to simply say, did he teach you what not to or what to do? Or both?
Well, he did both. He did both. My dad was very talented. Not putting nothing really out there. My dad had basically constructed a whole front life and a back life at the same time, and everything was working. And really, basically, I got to know my brothers and my sisters in a very unique way. And even when I was around, well, I did not know everything that was going on until after when he was getting ill is when I get to find out he talked to me about some stuff And it made me realize that relationship wise, my dad didn't really connect to everybody in a relationship way. And once again, as I said before, by not having certain things that did then, as a kid, you're actually gonna wonder why this happened, or you're gonna think to yourself, what's the possibilities? And that's what I did. So I realized that my dad didn't want to get too lovey-dovey into those type of things. My dad wasn't that type. He was more on the strict level and getting stuff done. So with that relationship wise, I kind of grew that on my own from my mom and from other relatives around me, especially from my own experience, getting hurt and then catching something else again and then building off of that, So relationship
Life
was
taught
there.
you about relationships. For the
Yeah, like if I would ask him, hey dad, give him a situation and tell him, hey, this is what's happening to me, he'd turn around and say, hey son, let's take it one step at a time, one day at a time. And I could explain him like 5, 6, 7 different things at the same time, but he would just tell me always take one thing at a time, deal with it one day at a time. So that's basically not even answering me. It just puts me in a situation like to start to puzzle out and think for myself, hey, wait a minute, right from right, wrong from wrong, and mature myself as a man to realize, hey, you're going to get hurt, but at the end of the day, you don't need to bow down. You just need to accept what it is and move forward. Because most times when something happens to you, it doesn't say much about you. It says about the other person as well. So,
True.
yeah,
True. Okay.
that's my relationship part.
Okay, great. I'm gonna come back to you, but Mr. Malik.
Yes, ma'am. Wow, I'm just sitting here listening to these great brothers telling stories about these great fathers. And I'm just honored to even be part of the mix. Dr. Senior Dr. Williams, I would be remiss if there you go. I was hoping you didn't leave. I would be remiss if I didn't highlight how amazing you are. I kind of knew this. We met once. I had the opportunity to meet you once. We met, oh my goodness, about a little under 3 years ago. Okay. And your son introduced me to you, and it was an honor to meet you. We were just having a chit chat. We were playing like cornhole or whatever over at Leatherback, not to make any advertisements for them, but we were over there and we just got to talking about dads, fathers, the topic tonight, right now.
The fist. Wait, man, the right fist.
Absolutely.
I don't recognize. Wait, I don't recognize I talk until me no talking. What the heck? We over Leatherback, man. What? And you hooked up with your daddy, man. We had good conversation.
Listen, and that's the awesome point.
Whoa.
Amazing. That was my segue, but I wanted to honor you. Let me lower my voice. I got excited. Me too. For a couple of reasons, because I met Will, oh my goodness, a while ago, doing philanthropic work with my football team when I was the head coach at Complex High School. Right. And just to jump out there and just to do what he did, I was like, wow, when a man does that, woman too, but when a man, we're talking about men tonight. So when a man does that, it kind of, your antennas go up. When a man does something so humanitarian, you look at him differently. And then you want to get to know him, you want to be around him. That's what grown men do. That's what we do. And so I got to know him, and then just happened a couple of years later, we got to talking, and he told me who you were. And quickly, I ran over there and said, "Wait a minute, your dad got to know my dad." And then we connect. You know the story. You guys connected and all that. And I will tell you this: he'll be here in December, so I'll connect you two. You guys can hang out and have a great time. But I wanted to say how I also think that you're a great human being, but also a great father, because you recognize people by the fruits of their labor. And your sons, although I haven't met your oldest son who's there, I've seen him around, and I think he's a phenomenal person because from just about, and then from who you are and who your other son is. So I just wanted to say, awesome job. Keep being who you are. Not like you need my validation, but I just say keep being who you are because you are an awesome person, especially to be highlighted in the conversation tonight. So
Thank you, my brother.
Thank you.
That means a lot. Thank you so much
for being a hero tonight.
Thank you.
Seriously, it's due. My father, wow, I don't even know where to start because he's such a dynamic human being. But man, I can give so many different examples. I remember my youngest thought of him totally inspiring me. I was about maybe 8 or 9. My mother had passed, unfortunately. And I remember my father getting ready for her funeral, telling me to be a man. I'm 8. He says, be a man and don't cry. And I'm like, okay, all I know is, that's the only other parent I got left, is to do what he says. Be a man and don't cry. And I remember they took me, you go through the funeral, you're the family member, I went through the back, you go past the other bodies, unfortunately, are in there, and then you go past, the setup and all that, and then you do the family walk and you go past the dearly departed. And I was strong. And I didn't cry. Everybody was boo-hooing, and it was a spectacle. And I remember going, man, my father got me through that. He stood me up at 8, and I was strong. I'd be like my daddy, as I called him back then. And I did that. And so you cherish those moments, but then as you becoming a man, sometimes things are not exactly what they were when you were a child. The lessons that they taught us as children are now viewed differently and may affect us differently. And I remember I joined the military, time went by, I'm a grown man. I had to be like mid-20s, maybe late 20s. And I remember being at my grandfather's house, my mother's father's house. And I remember looking at old pictures of my mother and my grandfather's. Back in the day, your grandparents put the pictures, when they had pictures, they would put them in the mirror, they stick them in the little corners, you'd have all these collages on the mirror. And I remember looking at the pictures. My sister and I was visiting. I don't know where my grandfather was. She went to go take a shower. And I'm looking at the pictures and I just broke down. As a grown man, I broke down. I mean, the shaking and the almost snot bubbles, the whole nine. I mean, I had a breakdown as a grown man and I was crying. Red eyes, full tears, wet t-shirt, collar, the whole nine. And I collected myself, but I needed to do that. And I remember my sister coming out of the bathroom and I hair cleaned up, got myself together because I'm a grown man. What am I doing crying? And my eyes obviously were red. And she said, "You okay?" I said, "I'm fine. I'm good." And she knew something was up. She don't know to this day, probably. But I was able to get past the lesson that my father taught me. I was able to I guess to be able to cry, to be able to let it go. And after I was able to do that, the death of my mother was okay. I felt like I graduated from something my father taught me back then. He taught me something to say, be strong enough to get through this. He didn't give me the second part, but he knew, I guess, that, look, I'll be strong enough. And here's why he knew. My father would teach me things directly and indirectly when I was growing up. Some things he would teach me and stop, and he would give me lecture. It would be lecture after lecture after lecture. It was like teachable moments. But he wasn't like always there. And I'll explain that in a second. But he would give me, when the moments arose, he would stop and have all the right things to say. To me, it was almost like a parable.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think y'all brothers could know. Some parents just give you them, fathers give you them, mothers too, but fathers give you the parables like, I got the importance of it. I might not have got all of the message, but I'm not going to forget it. And so when it's time, I'm going to get it. It's like an old joke that you laugh later, right? He would give me those. My father was teaching me to be woke before woke became what it is. Woke was something very important back when I was coming up. I'm 51, so I grew up in the 70s, 80s. He would always tell me, you better wake up. But that was like the end of his lecture. You better wake up. So when woke became woke, I thought it was pretty funny. My father was extremely, he wasn't in the military. His father was in the military. Maybe that's where he got it from, but my father was extremely militant. He was a black militant when you had to be. My father, Dr. Williams or Dr. Williams' sons, who are doctors as well, spoke of their father being a tyrant at times. He even spoke of being a tyrant. My father was a tyrant for the people, just as I'm sure Dr. Williams was too, and is. You hear that, right? He was. He was a tyrant for the people in that brash, bold, didn't care, alpha male type A person that he would say what needed to be said for the people. And I think I've collected that from him in my life as a person. It became part of my DNA. He was an athlete. He's very athletic. He would be outdoors. He would do all these wild, different things that involve the body, the sports. The sport. That's probably what led me to go after sports into the military, because I think you can't get any more athletic than that, besides maybe make it to the Olympics. And I wasn't as talented as he was, or Dr. Williams. He was a person of standard. He's from Harlem, New York. His parents, my grandmother was from Cuba by way of Trinidad. So that's where my Caribbean roots come from. My grandfather, Spanish and Cuban on my father's side. So my Caribbean roots was there. And they had very strong old Caribbean values in New York, which was common. And he was raised that way, and he instilled it in me. Here again, he wasn't always there to overlook my actions and my behaviors, because he was out being the tyrant for the people in the sports world and in the civil rights world. And yes, he's an icon in sports. He's an icon in the civil rights movement. But I don't want to go into that, because I want to specifically talk to him as about the father. And as growing up, it was weird. And I think the Williams sons kind of touched on it, that when your father is busy doing what he's doing, whether it be for his career or for the people, you don't always have him as a father, because the world has him or the community has him as a father. And so you have to look at him in a different light, almost two different lights. You actually have to share him. Am I right, Dr. Williams? You have to share him.
Truth.
It's the truth, man.
Truth.
It's the truth. It's fact.
Yeah,
And so I was learning who my father was from other people, because I'm looking at other people as this young man going, and people used to come and tell me, "Do you know who your father is?" Yeah, that's my dad. To this day, I still hear that. And the Marlins talked about it. I'm sorry, the Williams talked about it when they said that you grew up around these world-class athletes. And so when you look up and you got movie stars in your house, when you have athletes in your house, and you're going, how in the world are they in my house? Because you still don't understand who your father is. It was weird. You know, when you have Arthur Ashe in your living room interviewing your father, it's like, what? When you have, you know, it's just a weird thing. And so I had to learn quickly to share him. And so I didn't fully understand my father until I became an adult, until I became a man. And when I became a man, I had to pick up the phone and I called my father and I said, "Pop," I said, and this was like early 20s. I said, "Pop, I appreciate it." And he was like, "What are you talking about? What are you talking about?" And I just appreciate you telling me to wake up. I appreciate you giving me the lections that I didn't fully understand when I was younger. I just appreciate you for simply just being there, because like Lucien said, sometimes we don't as young men appreciate just simply the physical presence of your father being there. Whether you agree with what he was doing or you don't agree with what he was doing, you don't understand it, you realize it to your left and your right, in front and the back. Sometimes some of these young men or daughters don't have a father there, physically there. And that is a huge impact. It's a huge impact on you, the child, it's impact on your mother. It's the whole dynamic, whether they're doing what they're supposed to do or not. And so my career, how did it affect my career? And I'll try to keep this part short because it's talking about me. My career, everything that my father did, it instilled a lot in me to be the best man, best father, best person, best leader, best manager, best friend that I could possibly be. And then continue to strive to continuously be better, continue to grow, don't be stagnant. Relationship wise, unfortunately, my parents divorced. My mother took her life. That's a whole nother story, but not because of him, but because of the pressures of life that stemmed from who he was. And that's a whole nother story. But my father still loves her to this day, still is pained by her loss. And so for you to feel that way about your ex-wife, it teaches you a lot as a young man as far as relationships. My stepmother, he loves her oh my God, to the heavens and back. And they complain about each other every day. I talk to either one of them individually, and they complain about each other, but y'all not going anywhere. No, and they know it. No, I'm not going nowhere. And so you learn a lot about that and about relationships. You grow. Relationships are about growth. When you're tired of growing, then you leave. But you want to continue to grow, and that's the goal. And that's something I developed in my relationships, all of my relationships, and of course my marriage now. Life, I had to recently tell him, I said, I'll never be the man that you are. I won't even be a quarter of the man that you are, because you're just an amazing person. And I know you want your children to be better than you, but there's no way that in my lifetime will I ever achieve just the manhood, just the things that he's done as a father. And he needed to hear it. You know, I maybe hurt his feelings because he probably wants me to do better than him. And in my own way, maybe I am. I don't know. And as a father, because I have 4 children, I have 3 sons and 2 daughters, blended family. And my wife and I were just talking about this the other day. And I was thinking about this morning, how in the hell did we do what we done as parents? How did I manage this household? Because it's not easy. As men, supposedly, and I'm gonna say it, men should be the head of the household. We should carry the heavy workload of the family, and it's not an easy task. And I thank my father, definitely my mothers, and my mother-in-law for being the female, the woman piece that keeps me grounded. But my father and my grandfather, who I never met but heard many stories, are the ones that really helped me be the best father that I think I could have been back then. And I'm still striving to be a better father going forward. And I owe it all to my experiences I've had with my father, and I'm blessed to still have him alive. I haven't seen him since the pandemic started. So it's been about 2 years. And I'm excited to be able to spend like 2 weeks with him and my mother, but 2 weeks with him coming forward because I'm older now. I've crossed the 50 threshold. My father's in his mid 70s. And this is the time where I feel we really need to bond. It's like I need new lessons. I need you to give me the new wisdom that you've collected so that I can move forward into my 70s, God willing, as a better man too. So I need that. And so as we talk about fathers, we honor the impact they've had on us. And I know we've talked about nothing but positivity, or we could be talking about negativity. I feel like I'm in good company because some of everything that the gentlemen have said, I look at it and I go, wow, I'm blessed to have gotten what I've gotten because look at these gentlemen have gotten some great things from their fathers too. So I'm in good company. Salute to all of you. And thank you for having me.
Awesome. Way to go, man. Well delivered. Thank you so much.
Absolutely, Doc.
RJ, how about you?
Okay. I was listening to to Malik and Jerome. I came in late, of course. I didn't hear the rest of you guys.
We're gonna go back to Dr. Williams that his 2 sons spoke,
right,
and Lucien spoke as
you
well.
know, and I'm like here listening to you guys, and I'm like just in awe of how your fathers have been in your lives. So I'm going to be coming from a different perspective because my father was in my life for the first. My father and my mom were married, and they divorced when I was 5 years old. And my father was still in my life up until about I was 8. and he got another family, and basically, when I was growing up from about 8 until about 27 years old, I didn't really have like any interaction with my father. So I can't really say that he taught me anything. As a kid, I was very angry because he wasn't really a part of my life. Although I wanted him to be a part of it, he wasn't. So I had father figures. My uncle, like my mom's brother, was my father figure, and one of my mom's good friends, her husband was my father figure as well. And these two men, my uncle and his name is Desmond Williams, they basically were my father figures, and they taught me the value of family. They taught me the value of respecting women. But I was still an angry kid because I didn't have my real father in my life. And
did you okay, I'm sorry for interrupting.
Go ahead.
Did you know that you were angry at that time, or
oh yeah
okay,
yeah, I knew it. There were things that occurred in my life where, like, I was 11 years old and walking on the street. It was an empty street, and it was my dad was walking on the same street. We were walking in opposite directions, like basically crossing each other, and he did not recognize me.
Wow.
And that cut deep for me, you know. And there were times where I had asked him I would call him up and say, hey, you know, I need a pair of shoes for school or something like that. He would tell me, no, go ask your mom. You know, so those things made me angry, but it also, like looking back, it also made me the person I am today. Because with my, I'm a divorcee right now, and it's so funny because my ex-wife and I, we divorced when my child was 5. So around the same time I was, 5. But it made me make sure that I was present in my child's life at all times. I could remember as a kid, like as a teenager, saying to myself that I will not be like my father. I'm going to break the cycle as far as like being a part of my kid's life. Right. And, my daughter is 17 today, and she, for the past few years, she's been living with me. I'm a single parent and I'm raising my daughter. Her mother's in her life too. We co-parent, but her mom is living on St. Croix right now, and I'm in Florida, and so I'm raising her by myself just for the last few years. I would not change this for the world. Like it's an amazing experience for me, knowing that I could do it by myself. I could raise my daughter by myself. And I look at my mom, like how my mom raised me also. She never bad talked my father, never once. Although he wouldn't show up for things, she would always make excuses for him. Even to this day, my mom would say, hey, if your dad is sick, my dad lives 20 minutes away from me. You know, I go and see him every once in a while, but and we, since my late 20s, we have developed a relationship, and so we will call each other up and talk, or I would go visit, you know, but I would not give up the person I am today, because it made me a stronger person. It made me have a drive that I'm going to make sure that I'm always there for my kids, my family. Yeah, I'm not going to go into like all the pain that
Of course.
because that could be a whole new show by itself. But yeah.
RJ, I have a question, brother.
Sure.
Your last name Herbert, and this is a personal question. You don't have to answer if you don't want to.
Right.
I just wanted to. I was curious, and I wanted to share something with you. Your last name, is that your father's last name or your mother's
Yes,
last name?
my father's last name. I'm a
Father's
junior.
last name.
I'm a junior.
I was curious. That is your father's lineage.
Yes.
And so, despite how things may have started, despite how it ends, actually, let me take that back. Despite how it started, you are the master of how it ends, or shall I say,
Absolutely.
how it begins.
Absolutely.
I think you know this based off of the words you shared, but I wanted to share that because of my father shared a quote with me a long time ago about it ain't about how you start, it's about how you finish.
Right.
And so out of negativity, you're already making positive things out of it. You have totally just changed everything. You went and changed the whole, you rewired how life should be as a man, at least in your lineage of the Herberts.
Right.
And so, brother, I just commend you for being able to do that because it's difficult.
Right.
I don't want to take over your conversation, but I just wanted to say that I'm a stepfather. I said I had a blended family of a woman. She's a woman now, but she was a young girl whose father just left and played games.
Right.
And I see as a young woman how it affected her. So as a young man, I'm sure it affects us the same, painfully.
Yeah.
Not the same, but painfully. Yeah. But I tell her all the time, you're the creator of your future. You're the creator of the story that you get to tell to your children if you choose to have children. You've done that. And brother, I'm gonna just tell you, you get to do a restart of that lineage of Herberts on your side of the family, man. And so I'm just proud of you.
Yeah.
And it pains me because as an educator, I see it often.
Right.
But you have a chance to make it so right. So man, more power to you.
All right, thank you so much.
And forgive me, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut it short on you.
That's okay. But here's the interesting thing though. As I said, growing up, I was an angry kid, right? Mm-hmm. And I developed. I left from St. Croix to New York to go to college, and I stayed in New York for a number of years, a lot of years, and I developed asthma as an adult. Mm-hmm. And so I needed to know the family history on my father's side because I didn't really have contact with my father's family. So I called my mom and I said, "Hey, May," I call her May. I said, "May, I need to get in touch with." My father's name is Ralph, so I call him by his first name because
you know, respect level. I understand,
yeah. And I wasn't calling him dad or daddy or anything like that because I wasn't. We didn't have that type of relationship. So I said I needed to get in touch with Ralph and that I need to find out the history. So she was able to get his number. And she shared it with me, and I called him up. And through the years of like getting to know him, like I learned that he used to keep like newspaper clippings of me playing baseball.
Wow. Wow.
Newspaper clippings of me, there was this thing called Islanders from Island Center, a singing group that I was a part of. That he had newspaper clippings of that, and it just blew my mind.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so it made me give him like a second chance.
Did you ever? Let me ask you this, because this fascinating. Life is so fascinating to me. Forgive me, I'm sorry. But did you ever stop and think, like, man, why? Why did he treat me the way he did? Why? What was going on in his life? Who was he as a man at that time that he neglected? Because he still cared. Like, he obviously cared. He wanted to know. He was extremely nosy. Like, let me see what my sperm has done. Or no, this is my son. I'm too late to get into the show, so I'm gonna step back. But did you ever?
Well, I never asked them any of that, because that's water under the bridge. But I've a lot of men that are divorced or break up and have kids, if they're angry, or I shouldn't say men. I shouldn't generalize it like that. A lot of people, because men and women do this.
Mm-hmm.
Because they have an issue with their ex, they leave their kid behind.
They make the child part of that person.
Right.
It's an attachment.
Right.
Yeah.
So they don't know how to separate the and have that relationship. Wow. So
interestingly enough that you mentioned that, I don't want to cut off like Carlos. Right.
But this is a dynamic that we
is because I'm part of that dynamic now, and I was adamant. I mean, I was very adamant that I'm not going to let my relationship with my ex affect the relationship with my child. I was adamant about being a part of their lives daily.
Yeah.
So that was my group. That was my mission.
Yeah,
so I speak to my kids and I talk to them every day. I see them every so often. I speak to them every day.
Yeah, when my ex-wife and I, when we separated and stuff like that, she had 2 sons. I would make sure that I still, like, when they lived on St. Croix, I would go and get them and take them to school and pick them up. They were my kids. I mean, we had a daughter together, but she also had 2 sons, and they were my kids.
Wow.
Yeah. I didn't treat them any different, than I treated my daughter.
Very important.
So, because I didn't want that distinction, or for them to feel any type of way. I gave them the same type of love.
And a lot of people don't understand that, right. RJ. That's monetary. That's individual tasking for individual children. That's you have absorbed someone else's child with your care and responsibility and leadership and guidance. And that's a big tasking. And so I think that needs to be applauded a lot more. I think that a lot of men, and I'm gonna say it in this form, it is what it is. They can say what they want to say because I'm that guy. I think a lot of men do amazing things as fathers and as stepfathers. We have to say fathers, but stepfathers. And I think for a long time, fathers have gotten a bad rap because there are a lot of shitty ass, fathers out there. I'm gonna call them what they call them. That was the clean version. Guess I'm that dude tonight. But there's a lot of horrible fathers out there that kill men out here. You gotta go back and clean it up. That's cool.
No. I said glad it's you and not me.
This time.
Actually, listen. I'm gonna blame it on my little special drink that I have every time we get together. But
the Mule.
That's called, that's the when you see the cup, the orange cup, that's the true serum. But the RJ, just man, thank you. Thank you. And for all the fathers that are out there holding it down when they don't have to.
Right.
There's a difference. We have to when it's ours. We don't have to when it's not. And when we do it, it needs to be said, and I think the women need to hear it. I think the women need to acknowledge that, and I think they know that because they stay with that type of guy, you know, in the long run, if they're mature enough. Okay. Wow, RJ, you brought another perspective. Thank you.
That's something that we do need to talk about later on as well too, because that's a serious topic right there.
Mm-hmm. It is. It really is.
May I say
Yes,
something?
Dr. Williams, yes. Go
Okay.
ahead.
I quietly chose tonight just to listen because as an astute student of human nature, I know I can learn things just by listening. And man, just hearing the stories tonight just kind of take me to a really deep place. And I want to let you know that you need more program. I mean, more men talking issues about men.
Yes.
Because most times we have no idea what men face unless you sit in forums like these, where men can speak freely about the things they've experienced, their suffering and stuff like that.
Yes.
Because most forums are structured for a certain thing, right? And you know, I've listened to the podcast before, and we touched on the thing about love and people's relationship and stuff. But this is the first time I'm hearing men, real men, speak about life experiences and how they've tread their way through things to get where they are, where they've come from. And a lot of times it's been from some really dark places, man. RJ, your story is just off the chain.
Yeah.
And Coach, I don't know how you lived that life knowing that your father was center stage every day of his existence, and even still now so. And you in the shadows trying to live up to his experiences, man. That had to be something else.
I'll tell you, I quit a long time ago. He's so much in me that I just do what I do, what I think is right. I'm not gonna catch up with that guy. That guy is too amazing to me. So I'm not trying to live up to his. He wears a big shoe. I got a big foot, but he's got a bigger foot.
But you know, I believe that people are born for certain reasons. People are destined to do certain things, and he was born for a time like that to do what he did.
You were
right, to affect and effect people's lives going forward. And so his legacy lives in you and a whole bunch of people like us.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like so Deb, I know your show's coming to an end. I want to say a couple of things.
Yes, definitely. I want to end it with you.
I want to share a couple of quick stories.
Did RJ want to wrap up? Sorry, Doctor.
No. Yeah, Dr. Williams, I don't mean to cut you off.
Sorry.
I'm sorry, guys, but I have to do father duty again. So I have to run.
I heard you, man.
Yeah.
Perfect closing, RJ.
But thank you for joining us.
All right.
And like I said before in the back, that these are the conversations that we're going to have a lot more of, because I think it is essential to the legacy we want to leave and to change the stories for the next generation. Thankfully, I know a lot of men that are trying to do it right. And I see a lot of my godsons and the younger ones that are trying to do it right. But these kind of shows are very important. So I want to thank you, RJ, for joining us tonight.
Thank you so much for having me. And this was great. I'm sorry that I came in late. It was father duties again, but and I have to leave early.
So, we're going to do it again. We're going to do this again.
Yeah, we'll do it again.
Keep keeping on, RJ.
All right.
Keep
All right. Thank you, man. Thank you for sharing.
Thanks, RJ.
Thank you.
Have a
All
good
right.
one.
Take care, guys.
Okay, good night.
Okay. May I continue?
Yeah, go ahead.
My grandfather was born on the island of St. Vincent, and he was a police officer. And my father told me the story that on the first day of work, they sent my father downtown. The police station was like a mile away from the center of the town. So they sent him down to retrieve this bad John, this bully, big muscle up dude. So they wanted to test my grandfather. They said, go find this man and bring him to the police station. They knew that he couldn't do it. So he went down and he found the man. And they said it took him like 5 hours before he came back. But he had the dude, his clothes all torn up. But he brought the dude in. And they nicknamed my grandfather Steel Ribs because of the iron will the dude had.
Mm-hmm.
My father
was of the same ilk. When the refinery was being built in 65, 66, 67, 68, here in St. Croix, my father was one of the people who came to build that refinery. He had an elementary school education, but he read incessantly. And he made sure that we all read. All the children had to read something and explain to him what you read. I don't know if he read the books that we read, but he asked questions about the books, which means that he probably read them. And with 11 kids, that's a lot of reading, man. But the guy read. He was very, very brilliant. At the refinery, he rose to the rank of maintenance superintendent on the east side of the refinery. He had like 300 men working under him. 5 engineers was on his staff. And he was in charge of all of them. Just a brilliant man. And when I left here in St. Croix at age 18 to join the military, he said, son, I want you to remember a few words I'm going to say to you right now. I said, what's that, Dad? He said, the sky is the limit. You can be anything you want to become. Anything. And I lived that. I believed it. I still believe it up until now. So when I segued into basic, I laughed my way through basic training because I thought it was funny. And no, they promoted me out of basic training, man, because they couldn't break me. You know, they tested me, they couldn't break me. And I went on to advanced individual training, became a medic, and then from there to jump school, learned how to jump out of planes and land safely.
Airborne.
And then I became part of a crack shot unit, search and destroy unit called the Recondos in 82nd Airborne Division. So I did all that kind of stuff. And that's when my running really took off. And then I came back to St. Croix, worked at the refinery for a couple of years, and started running to train for the Olympic Games. Went off to school and got my education, competed in 4 Olympic Games. But my thing is that I remember those words my father said, you can do anything. So, and then us Olympians have a creed that says impossible is nothing. Not that nothing is impossible, but impossible is nothing, which means you can achieve anything you want to achieve. And my son, one of my sons, Jay mentioned that when they were little, I used to put them in front of the mirror and said, hey, what do you see? Tell me what you see. Right? And when the first time they did it, they were like, I see me. I said, no, you actually see you, but it's one of the things you need to see. You need to see a young prince, an intelligent, and he said he said it early on. And it's the same thing I do for people I have under my tutelage, male and female, who come to me for counseling. And my thing was not just to raise my 2 sons. And Sheldon can tell you that he said often enough that he and Jay could never remember a time when there was never other people in the house all their lives growing up. We took other people's children in because we recognize as a family that there's some people who did not have a father, as was said here tonight.
Exactly.
So we took male and female, young people, paid their way through school, make sure they had something to eat, clothes to wear, make sure they had dental appointments, whatever it took. There's one who became a lawyer with Sunday school in London, became a lawyer. Another one became a psychiatrist. We paid their way through school. And my point is that as a father, we have to recognize that fatherhood is not just limited to those in our immediate comfort, space.
Yes.
Fatherhood extends to every child that we come across. And coach, you understand better than a whole bunch of us, because there are some who on the team has no father in the house. So coach, you have to become the father. You have to teach and counsel and guide and take them by the hand.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
That's what we do as men. And it's not we're looking for something in return, but we know implicitly somewhere down the road, somebody or some community is going to benefit from it.
Amen.
That's what men do. And sometimes it's painful. It hurts. I mean, some of you have no sleep.
Mm-hmm.
Some of your pockets are empty, but you do it because it's the right thing to do.
There you go.
It's the right thing to do.
There you go. Wow. Wow.
Well said. I wanted to piggyback on that, particularly to Carlos. You might in your mind think that you fit into your father's shoe and this and that, but in many young men's mind, I think your shoes are really big. and I think that they can appreciate like the little guidance that you share with them on a daily basis. I mean, that's huge. You know, some people don't have the patience for kids. Some people don't have the patience for especially kids who don't have the foundation that you have. You know what I'm saying?
You're
So
right.
you know, you might look at it like, yeah, his feet, you know, but in some kid's mind, in the next 20 years, he's gonna look back at you and be like, you know what? I truly appreciate every bit of wisdom that you shared with me because I
Yes.
didn't have a father,
Right.
and you really impacted me. You know, and people don't understand that. Like sometimes it's the simplest things can go the longest way. So your shoes may not be as big as your father's, but I'm sure like your influence transcends as his does.
Yes. Yes.
Well, let me tell you something, brothers. Lucian, Louis, I do appreciate that. I really, really do, because you're coming right behind Dr. Williams saying something, and I think just to think of me to tell me that is powerful in itself. Because I've listened to Dr. Williams say that, and it's funny because I almost didn't make the discussion panel tonight because I've been working. I created a plan to do some things as an educator at night. I got approval by a school district, St. Croix, to bring a select group of students every week for the 3 weeks in the evening with COVID protocols to come in at 5:30 to 7 o'clock at night. And I thought, well, if I can just get a couple, I'll be fine. I was getting about maybe 2/3 of my students to come in the evening voluntarily. And it wasn't just curriculum, it was mentorship. It was some of the curriculum we're doing. And parents were like, yeah, let's get them in there. And I thought, man, maybe I bit off more than I could chew, because I'm coming in Monday through Thursday from 5. I'm putting in 13, 14-hour days. I did it last week. I was doing it the week before, doing some other things, the week before doing some other things, allowing students to do things they needed to do, make it work, whatever. Get community service. I was just whatever I could do in this virtual world, because our students, our children are struggling emotionally, socially, academically. They're hurting. They need outlets. Let's come up with some fun stuff. Plus get some things done. Plus help me out. And so I did it. And so now this is like the 4th week somehow, some way I've been working late. And my wife looked at me. We canceled tonight because of due to the weather last night. It was horrific weather. We were leaving from our train. I said, I can't do that like that. I can't risk people's lives like this tonight. So I canceled it, and the weather was great. But so I was able to be here on time. But as Dr. Williams was saying, it's not about just our children. It's about all the children around us. And when he said that, it jolted me for a second, because I'm so used to doing what I do. And then behind him came you and Louis, Lucian. And I saw Jerome nod, that it's not about me. It's not about me at all. It's about, we need more people doing these things.
Right.
Yep.
Exactly.
I want to say something.
It's not about me at all. I'm a tired guy. I'm really tired. And my wife was like, you need to get some sleep. I was like, well, I got to get up and go do this discussion panel. She said, you need to get some sleep. I was like, I'm good. I had a nap. It's not about it. Dr. Williams, like you said, Marlon Williams touched on it. Yeah, you're going to lose some sleep. Yeah, you're going to spend some money. Yeah, you're going to, Brother Jerome said, yeah, the money comes and goes. And it does. Give it to the kids. Put it where you think it needs to be put best. Spend it on them so that they have these things. Spend extra time. You can sleep when you're dead. What about, I mean, it is the truth. And so I don't want to preach. I'm just saying, I'm preaching to the choir, really is what I'm doing. But we're the catalysts. Fathers are the catalysts. And just like mothers do, because mothers do it all the time, they feed the community, they give the friends of their children snacks and food and the next family over. We hear about the women doing it all the time, but we don't present the fact that we as men are doing it as well. You know, so I'm so glad to even just be part of this conversation. And thank you for re-energizing me. Not that I was gonna stop doing what I'm doing, but you gave me an extra step to go forward in. So thank you guys. I appreciate it. Dr. Williams, wow. Wow.
Don't your bad self, coach.
Jerome wanted to say something. Go ahead, Jerome.
Yeah, guys, I just wanted to point this point out there. I'm going to take the opportunity to say it's a great thing that what we're doing here on this platform that will actually, whoever watches it now or watches it later will actually have an understanding of, as a man or a young man growing up with kids, because you know you got the young fathers as well to trying to understand certain stressful moments and stuff that they just can't see their way with it as well. So we have a lot of gentlemen right now actually saying from their experience as well as being fathers what it actually pushes them forward. But my point with what I'm hearing here so far is like I heard Dr. Williams' sons and himself as well saying, as well as AJ, it's very hard to actually be a father from your own kids and your kids from someone else when you take that responsibility on. For me personally, being a good father, being a good dad, it just comes. There's no other way I see it. If there's a child that comes into your life, seeing from your significant other, your other half, your girlfriend, that child automatically now needs tenderness. They need love. They need respect. They need understanding. They need these fundamental things. Probably I didn't get it, but I'm damn well sure. I'm sorry for saying that, but I'm for surely going to show him or her the independence, the love, the direction that I see that was needs to be nurtured. If I can't do it no other way. I can't see it no other way. So if Carlos, you're a teacher and you're trying to push these things out, blessings to you, my brother. That's a beautiful thing. It's a very strong and structured thing. It's nothing easy to do because you're gonna have moments that things look a little weird and it's gonna be even harder. But being a father and putting those things out there, it's not easy, but it's a blessing. And when you actually see that child do one good thing, it just blooms you up all over again, makes you want to actually open a community center or do something that, you know, it stands the right way. So that's what I wanted to say. It's something that you just can't choose. It's not like, well, this is my blood child and this is not my blood child. And you know what? I'm going to give 50% to my, nah, it's not like that. It's what your heart gives and you just let it out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Basically.
And that's why, again, these conversations are important, especially in our community, because unfortunately, even though we have so many great stories, we still have so many awful stories. And so for me, having these conversations gives hope, but it also, I would hope, touches someone in a way to make a decision to do something better. Because fathers are very important and very instrumental. I just wanted to read before we end this. I wanted to read quickly. Someone made a comment. I call her Peaches. Her name is Evadne Rogers. She said, "I'm glad RJ spoke because that's the reality I've seen in the courtroom in over 38 years of stenography. So glad that most of the stories tonight give us hope for our Crucian men. Hope they are mentors to the troubled youth in our communities, and you all are. So I definitely want to thank you all. I was going to have my godson on tonight because he's a young man, and I wanted to hear his viewpoint, but he's playing professional football, soccer, in Denmark right now. So I had him write something, so I'm going to put it in the comment because it was actually pretty long. The impact his father has had in his life and his siblings. His dad and mother have 5 kids. He's the eldest of the 5. And they've all done amazing. They've all been in sports. I think Jordan, his daughter, was in cheerleading, but Les has done an amazing job. Unfortunately, because of the kind of work he does, he could not be here with us either tonight, but I'm going to share it in the comments. So I want to just thank everybody. We are going to continue having these conversations. Part 2 of Love and Enlightenment needs to be more of the enlightenment. And so that's what we're focusing on. We did a lot of the love and self-care, but we do want to focus more on enlightenment for year 2 of Love and Enlightenment. So thank you all for joining us. Thank you, the Williams family, for setting the bar. Thank you, Jerome, for joining us. Francine Martin, Malik, I'm glad that you were able to join us from the beginning. RJ, who's gone, and definitely Louis and Lucien for being here with us tonight.
Definitely. Thanks, everyone. Very, very profound, statements that we've heard here and testimonies. Thank to each and every one of you. Like she said, the Willis family, Carlos, Jerome, of course, my boy Lucien and RJ. And I just want to take this opportunity, as always, to wish everyone good things, great things, and beautiful things.
Thank you all for having us. We really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
I'd like to just to say, Doc Williams, you know what I'm saying? As I said before, you're like a father figure to me. And, I really appreciate all the words of wisdom and the back Facebook conversations.
You guys have awesome
Yes,
Facebook posts. I'm telling you.
Yes,
Listen, you don't want to see us doing doing campaign time, and so we'll be back there strategizing and but,
So you're gonna vote for me or what?
yeah,
Build your platform. If you build it, they will come.
yeah, man.
Johnny
So,
Cake platform, brother.
yeah. So once again, I truly appreciate it, Carlos. Yeah, much love, man. Thanks for bringing.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate it. Love back always.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man, definitely. Mr. Jerome, big up from St. Martin. We appreciate you. You know what I'm saying? Thanks for coming on.
Are we still coming across the same Martin soon, by the way? I just want to put out there.
I gotta come over St. Croix to get the Callaloo. So I gotta come over to get the Callaloo. Yeah. Nah, St. Martin and like St. Croix Callaloo.
That's for sure.
No, they ain't ready yet.
Well, thank you all again. Please, everyone, be safe. And
big up to Coquito Pinky in the
yes, in the comment. Yes. Thank you. See you all back next week, Thursday. Again, it'll be at 8:15 p.m. And we'll let you know in the upcoming days what the show will be about. Be well, take care, have a great weekend, and thank you.
Blessings to everybody.
My respect. Goodbye. Thank you.
Blessings.
Good night.
All right, good night.